Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Mountaineer Locker Room. Then and now, Greg Christ, along with Frank Fear. Frank, welcome into the show tonight. Always good to see you. And we're moving right along here in the off season, as they call it. And we've got lots of info to discuss and hash out. Got another great guest tonight. And before we go on, I think I told this story. I had Curlin on when I was doing the courtside show. And I think I told this story, but I remember being in my dorm room in Glenville, and I had a buddy there that was a 4-time state champion wrestler at Ripley. He also played linebacker on the football team at Glenville. And he and I were listening to the Oklahoma game on the radio, of course, Jack Fleming. And I never forget when Curlin Beck broke the run down the middle for the touchdown 1-2. And we went berserk, jumping up and down on our beds in the dorm room. And my friend, who obviously didn't know his own strength, tackled me and had me in wrestling holds. And I couldn't even – he had me so knotted up in a wrestling hold I couldn't even submit. That's how bad it was. So I'll never forget that. We were going crazy. And it's going to be fun to talk to him about that tonight.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you weren't able to be with us last week. And I was telling the story to the audience last week with Mickey, is that it was one of those games where you remember where you were, and I just happened to be the best man at a wedding, but I wanted to watch that game, so I went into the bar and I was watching the game when in fact we're going to show them tonight, re-show them both of Curlin's second half touchdowns, one on a pass, one on a run. And a guy comes in and says, "What the hell are you doing? You got to introduce. We're waiting for you to start the celebration." And part of me wanted to say,
"Here's Curlin Beck.
I'm staying right here, man." But the other part of me said, "I got to get the hell out of here." But I was able to, after I did my formalities, I went back and watched the rest of the game. So it worked out okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of those times you do remember. And like I said, I was in college at the time, and man, I'll never forget it. And you look back on that, and you think about history of Mountaineer football, and we've talked about since we do the then and now, we've talked about the foundation being laid for the program, et cetera, et cetera. And if you think about it, that win out there at Oklahoma really propelled the program, I think, to a whole new level, and it made people believe that, hey, you know what? Why not West Virginia? We can do this here, and I really think that was such a signature win, and one that'll go down probably as one of the greatest of all time in Mountaineer history.
Yeah, fantastic. Of course, Curlin had a great season. The season before, he was the leading rusher, and so a lot of weapons. And we were talking the other day, and it's true. You can't when you look at what happens, let's say 3 or 4 years later, and of course we went to the national championship game against Notre Dame. You have to look back and say, okay, what seeds were planted that enabled that? Nothing to take away from the squad that was on the field in Tempe, but the point is the seeds had to be sown. The Indiana story is a little bit different, but those are unusual stories. But typically there's a building process, and people like Curlin and Daryl Talley and Brian Joswiak, all those guys were part of that with a great coaching staff. And it's one of the things that really turns us on, because as you said, that was the then, and it connects to the now. Maybe we should bring him in right now. We're talking about him.
As well. Right? Might as well get him on here so we can see him. Absolutely.
Yeah. Curlin, it is so great to see you. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
Curlin, we appreciate it. And before we move off of the Oklahoma subject, I know how we felt, Frank and I, that day. Talk about your just for a second here. Talk about your memories and what you think about. I know you think about that game often. I'm sure it's brought up anytime there's Mountaineer fans around. They want to talk about it. But what's your memories of? What do you remember most about it?
Well, I got to go back to '78 when we went out to Oklahoma the second game of the season, and they beat us 52-10. I was a red shirt. Tally was a red shirt. A bunch of us was red shirted, and we were wondering, like, man, what could we have done, or how could we have impacted that game? Fast forward to '82, we're in the locker room. Don Nealon is firing us up. And the last thing he says, we're jumping up. He said, we're going to go out there. We're going to do what we're going to do. We came here to do this. And this time, the horse is not going to die on the field. And we all stopped and like, the horse died. And it goes back to '78 when one of the horses, they had so many touchdowns. One of the horses died from heat exhaustion. It was 105 degrees. We were standing there coming out for special teams. And a couple of guys up in the stands were like, oh man, it sure is hot out there. And, we looking up, we trying to like not thinking, and we could see the heat rays coming off the field. So, and the thing is, it's just we went out there with a different mindset than we had, and he turned our minds around, and we believed that we could win. We weren't just out there just playing the game, but he had us believing we win because Oklahoma went up 14-0. And on us, and we didn't flinch or anything, but and we just stayed in the game. We ran our race and ended up doing everything we were supposed to do, and we won that game. And we actually that was the first home opener Oklahoma had lost in 30 years,
Wow.
and we were the first team to ever score over 40 points against Oklahoma. So we spoiled a couple of people. Marcus Dupree's debut, we spoiled some things.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you knew this. So they couldn't even do a postseason game because the fans were so mad. They went into the locker room and tore the phone lines out. So our announcers couldn't do a postseason game, and they wanted to do it so bad. But it was just relief that we're on our way. And we proved that Peach Bowl when we beat Florida was not a fluke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't think people realize. You mentioned like today you talk about we beat Oklahoma. Well, that happens sometimes today. Back then that didn't happen. I mean,
right.
There were a couple of programs: Oklahoma, Nebraska, Texas. Those teams didn't lose very often, and they sure didn't lose to someone that wasn't named Texas, Oklahoma, Nebraska. So the magnitude of that win is just, I think it's kind of lost today, but back then that was an enormous accomplishment to be able to knock those guys off on their home field.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. And I was talking to some guys just recently, and some recruits that came in, and actually you think about it, Frank Zanetti had 3 good recruiting years, 77, 78, and 79. And he brought in the building blocks, and then Coach Don Nealon came in and just took those blocks, kind of reshuffled them, and then started the program going uphill, and he changed our mindset and everything. So, but when I was talking to those guys, we were set back and we had to laugh because we were thinking about West Virginia, and all of us had big other recruiting scholarship offers and everything. And we thought about, man, they didn't really have great facilities. And we went to West Virginia, but we ended up turning around and the facilities are number one first class right now. And I was glad when I go back to look at that, we were the teams that actually started their building blocks and now attract everybody. Nobody knew West Virginia, but now you can't go anywhere to see without seeing West Virginia somewhere.
Yeah.
That's right.
Before we get off the Oklahoma game, Darren, if you could cue up that ESPN Classic. This is just in the second half, and you can talk us through this. It features you with the 2 touchdowns, but if you could cue that up, Darren, and we'll watch it. And the point is, as we get into this, you talked about Marcus Dupree. Everybody was talking about him, and
Yes.
You guys really shut him down. So here's Oklahoma in the second. They're ahead at this point, and this features both the offense and the defense.
So and
here's where he scores. The quarterback scores.
right. And the one thing that I remember, I was talking to Dennis Folks and Denny Brown. He came and said, we are going to just start going after him. We just going to start going after him. We're not going to lay back. We're going to go after him. And that was one thing he really did. Now, the funny thing about this pass, when I was coming out the huddle, Jeff Hostetler said, if it's a too deep safety, I'm going to throw the pass to you. And I was like, okay. And as I was running down the field and I saw the two safeties drop back, I was like, Jeff, what you going to do? And next thing you know, boom, he hit me with the ball. And I was like, oh, okay. Because he looked it off and perfectly and just, just hit the pass. Now, Jeff was throwing, and he threw so many passes, they really couldn't combat the pass. We just had it. We just had it all. We can pass anytime we wanted to, really, on them.
Yeah. The thing is, you guys were so crisp for an opening game. It was like this is the middle of the season.
And really
great pass here, Hollins.
And the main thing was that Oklahoma was known to turn the ball over at least several times. They didn't turn the ball over once. They had one turnover. We had the only turnover of the game when our punt got blocked. And Jeff was like a seasoned vet. He knew the offense. He picked up right after what Oliver Luck laid down. He picked up, turned it around. But and the funny thing about Jeff Hostetler, if you didn't know, he came in for Blackledge a couple of years and beat us. And when we were up at Penn State, ended up transferring to West Virginia and taking over the helm as a quarterback after Oliver Luck graduated. So that was something interesting about Jeff.
Here's the defense comes up really big here.
I don't know if you all knew, but Tally had a fever all this game. He was like actually sick. He had like it was like in the hundreds. He was like had 102 fever playing this game.
Now this is 4th and 7. Look at that defense, just swarm, no chance to make it. And that sets you up for the clinching touchdown here in a second.
Now, Coach Nealon tells it like this. He says, now, I didn't want to drop Jeff back. He said, I had a couple of running backs. So he said, he'd rather get me pounded than Jeff. And I was like, okay, that happened. So what happened is we called a draw play. So usually on the draw play, there's going to be a hole. I didn't see a hole. So the one thing they tell us to do is follow fullback. So once I was going to the fullback, the guard hit the linebacker across my face, and there was the hole. So I just jumped through it, and it was, that was it.
You can see it better here.
See, 38, he comes in, and the linebacker.
You're gone. You weren't even touched. Great run.
And the funny thing is, it was a guy that I ran into in the end zone that actually lived in Houston, and I had moved down to Houston, and he actually gave me a DVD of the game, the whole game that he had recorded while he was in Houston, and he had came down to Oklahoma for the game. So I had met him later on in life. So that game was really a significant game.
Yeah, great memories, right, Greg? Wow.
And you've probably never watched those highlights maybe once or twice, right?
It's funny. My son, my youngest son, he would call because back back they used to show him when Oklahoma was coming on. He used to call me up and say, Dad, they're showing the film. And then on 30 for 30, Brian Boswell's 30 for 30, they actually show the run at the end on the Boswell 30 for 30. So it's kind of it's spelled in a lot of places.
Awesome. That's great memories. Looking at the state of the games today, the football world today, do you see? I mean, I know we've seen what Indiana pulled off this year, but I think there's a difference in what they did and what we did. Do you see something like that ever happening again, where you have a team that's just built, like you guys were, and really come on? When you become 3 and 4 year players, with a little bit of experience, basically, do you see a team being built from the ground up anymore like you used to? I think we'll see that again.
I actually started watching the Division II and Division III playoff games and everything, and you see a lot of it in those teams and those universities that can build a program. With the D1 and the NIL and people saying I'm gonna take my ball and go because I'm not getting the playing time and everything, and the regulations is really not clear. There's a lot of gray areas. Kids are not staying. But what Kirk did, and as you know, Kirk was on the team. He came in '79 when I was there in West Virginia, and what Kirk did, he actually built in and got kids to believe in the program and to stay. And because one guy was going to leave when he got the job, I think it may have been the quarterback or somebody, and Kirk actually went and told him, "Hey, stay, believe in the program. We're going to turn around." And if you can convince kids to stay in the program and not to leave, and just say the money, all money is not good money, I think you have programs starting to turn around. They're gonna take what Kirk did and try to duplicate it. I know you've seen the movie Moneyball, and people are going to try to duplicate what they did, the Oakland A's did, and they're going to try to do what Kirk did. They're going to try to reproduce that kind of situation. But you got to have kids believing in it, and you have to bring kids in and have them trusting in your system and tell them that's going to work. So I think it's not too far off, but I would say in the Division II, Division I AA's, you'll see it more so than in the D1 single A.
Where do you see us NIL headed? I mean, right now it's just we've mentioned on here numerous times. It's like the Wild West. It's just grab who you can grab and that sort of thing. What do you see happening down the road here in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years with the way the NIL is set up and what's going to happen in the future?
Well, there's a case out there where a kid left and the school invested a lot of money and they're suing the kid. However, how that plays out is really going to tell which way the wind's going to turn the NIL. Most colleges, as you know, Jeff Hostetler is a GM at West Virginia now that's handling the NIL piece of our school. So you're going to the place where you can general managers, you're getting people to manage the money, to try to recruit people and try to stay up with the big deep pockets of the other universities. And the problem is that it's not even across the board. And once they they let the genie out the bottle, it's hard to get it back in. And I think they need to sit down, the powers that be, do some regulation, find out like what's the best for the kids and the program, because basically it's for the kids that's really not going to go pros, so they can have some insurance, and just have a good start. So just see how that's going to work out, and that's what I think they just need to sit down and revisit this whole NIL thing.
And I think we've talked about it at nauseum on here. You know, I think as bad as people don't want to hear it, it's going to have to be collectively bargained at some point, and there's going to have to be some ropes put around it. If you saw what happened at Duke, I think you mentioned that with Duke and Miami. Those are same conference, and basically Miami just plucked Duke's two best players, quarterback and receiver, and you feel, I mean, you feel bad for them in one sense of the word. You don't. I mean, I really don't feel bad for them, but you feel bad for these programs that do bring these players in and develop them, and really, West Virginia hasn't, I don't think yet been really subjected to that degree. But it looks like programs like Duke and your Dukes, your Wake Forest, teams like that are going to suffer the consequences of the big money schools and getting players plucked out like that. And people are shocked that Indiana able to do it, but if you look around and you study it a little bit, Indiana has a huge alumni base, a wealthy alumni base, and they've done it for years in basketball. They obviously focus some attention on football pretty clearly. So the money talks, that's for sure. But hopefully they can get some reins around it. Do you get to attend? Do you come back to Morgantown to watch any games here?
I haven't came back to Morgantown, but I did go down to the University of Houston. I have grandchildren there, so I went down and saw the University of Houston game, which was a great game. And I was I was dressed all in West Virginia attire from head to toe, from the hat to my shoes. Had West Virginia on, and I was and those fans were fun. They were booing everything, but I was loving it. I was loving it.
Yeah.
Even my grandson and I had the matching West Virginia polo shirts on, and he was walking around with me. So it was great. It was great though.
Yeah, if you go pick a road game to go to, that was the one. That's for sure.
That was the one.
One of our better performances this year. Frank, you want to jump in?
Well, yeah, the great conversation, guys. I was just going to add that some of the audience may not know this, but periodically, Curlin, along with Joswiak and Tally and Mike Fox, do a podcast. And we're going to have Mike on again next week. He's actually going to talk, Curlin, about his idea of what he hopes West Virginia, if they could take the lead, on putting together a deferred gratification program. So, deferred compensation program, where some of the money coming in on nil would be set aside with bona fide investors that can be tapped in later. And Mike will talk about that next week. And that's certainly one way of going about it. One of the other things we should talk about too is that wasn't the only game where you excelled. If you could put in, Darren, Curlin sent us a short clip of a Pitt game. If you could put that in, and we'll look at it. It's a short clip, and then Curlin talk about what it was like playing the arch rival Pitt back in the day. Why don't you just start talking, and the video will come up.
So, oh man. So, as you remember, I played Pitt when they had Hugh Green and Ricky Jackson.
But here it is. There you go.
To Curlin Beck. He's got some help. He's got a first down. He's out of bounds.
Nice run.
43.
We both was undefeated at that time.
Break outside, and it's a good block by Wayne Brown.
And it just hurts to see this game because we had a chance to win the game with a field goal. But with a bad spot, they gave us a bad spot on it. And we were arguing about the spot, and they put us a yard back. And if we had an original spot a yard up, we'd have won that game, and we would have been 6-0, and Pitt would have been 5-1. It was hard swallowing that loss. And Pitt, I'm originally from Cleveland, so we don't like Pittsburgh at all. So Pitt was just, it was one of those games that, man, it's just another Pittsburgh. It's like, oh, really didn't like it.
Frank, am I hearing a Browns fan?
I am. I'm a diehard Browns fan. If you was in my house, my mother wouldn't allow any other team. And the funny thing is, my mother said, when I was a senior, my mother said, she said, baby, if you get drafted by Pittsburgh, I'll root for you, but I won't root for the Steelers. And I said, well, Mom, luckily I got drafted by Seattle, so you don't have to worry about that problem.
Can't see all my decorations in here, but I got Browns stuff all over the place.
Okay.
I've been a Browns fan my whole life. I always said, I've told Frank is that, when you're bantering back with friends about who you like and that sort of thing, it's like, I'm a Cowboys fan. I hate the Cowboys. I'm an Eagles fan. I hate the Eagles. But when you say I'm a Browns fan, they go, sorry, man. As of now, that's the only really good thing about it is you don't catch much flack from anybody.
Yeah.
I just saw a podcast of Barnard. He was talking about the fumble after the drive. That's called the drive. He showed the fumble. He was talking about it. He said he don't know what happened. He was trying to dodge a tackle, and next thing you know, he was in the end zone. The ball was laying there on the right there at the 1 yard line. I felt for him.
I've tried to explain to my wife, my kids, the drive, the fumble, Red Right 88. I've tried to explain all those things and how gut wrenching those things are, but nobody seems to feel it except Browns fans.
Because that was our year. That was like that was probably been our first Super Bowl. If we'd have held on, it's probably been our first Super Bowl.
Yeah, could have very well been. Should have been. A couple of years in a row there.
Yeah, right.
I give Tally a hard time all the time about, the Browns always. I said we always like the Buffalo because we always got to beat them in the playoffs, and he's like, I'm from Cleveland,
Yes. His brother John actually played tight end for Cleveland.
Yeah. Yep, sure did. You always have to give him a hard time about that. I'm sorry, Frank. Didn't mean to jump in.
No.
Go ahead.
Fantastic. One of the things that we always like to talk about with former players who made history for West Virginia is what's happened in their lives after they left the university. And you mentioned you had grandkids. If it's correct, and we always do research, did your son Wesley he played college ball at New Mexico, didn't he?
Yeah. So I got married, had 3 sons. Wesley and my youngest son Derek, they played football. Wesley played for University of New Mexico. Derek played for UMass, and then my son Joshua, he actually got a scholarship and played for the Merchant Marine Academy. He played basketball.
Wow,
now what I'm doing is, I actually ran track. I was a 2-sport athlete at West Virginia. I ran track and I played football, and that's a rarity now. But I grew up in Ohio, and if you play football, you ran track. So that was just a thing. Now what I'm doing is I actually volunteer coach at Wesley Chapel High School on the track team, help with the sprints. And then I have this is our second year starting a AU USTF track club called the Velocity Elite. And we are in our season now. Also, we're starting up. And last year we had a good year. Our first year we had 8 All-Americans and 2 national champions between the ages of 13 on down to 5. So that's what I'm spending my time doing. And then I have 2 grandkids here besides in Houston. So, actually 3. I have a grandson by marriage, but he's actually, I'm training him in speed and agility. So he's probably going to carry on some things because he's a receiver like my son, Derek Beck. He's a receiver. So it's going to be some other later down the line, some more Becks out there running around doing something.
Yeah, that's great. You were talking about it's a thing in Ohio, and it reminds me really sadly of our recently deceased friend, Tom Bowman, great Mountaineer, who from the Cleveland area, who really made a name for himself in high school on the track squad, got offered to play at Notre Dame that came to West Virginia, just passed away a couple of months ago. Tom, we had Tom on the show, as you know, a great teammate, a great Mountaineer who just, gold and blue in his veins. But great guys coming out of Cleveland. One of the other things that Greg and I love to explore with Mickey, and unfortunately Mickey couldn't be with us tonight. He's a little under the weather, and he'll be back next week. But the situation with so many of just about every single former Mountaineer having a great career. And when we did research on you, there were a lot of words that were described to say what you do. And I'm not at that level, but let's just say I think that you you work in the complexities of human resources and human resource management information system. So if you could describe it so that Greg and I can understand it, tell the audience a bit about what. And you've done it. You had your private company for a while, but you've worked for a variety of corporate. Yeah, talk about it.
Well, now I'm 3 years retired, so I'm not doing that now. No, but I started out. Yes, I did start out in the information systems management industry, and I actually ran a company called Arbitron where we sold software for payroll and HR software. And then I worked for a company called Arbitron that used to do TV ratings. I was a manager there. And from there, I started learning computers, and I was interested in computer. And I got my degree in business management, specialized in personnel. So I went from there and started getting interested in the information systems. And since I was a people person, working, installing software, payroll and HR software, I was doing that for several years, all the way up until I retired. And basically what I did was whatever you got paid, I made sure that your check was right, your deductions came out right, you got the right taxes, and that your paycheck was deposited right, and if it split, it was going there right. So my saying was always, payroll is not important until somebody don't get a check. that's when they call, and they would call me, and I would come in and solve a problem in on the HR or the payroll side. So I did that for years. And then recently, before I retired, I was actually the link between your benefits going from your payroll HR system to your benefit provider, like Aetna or your medical or IMAD or something like that, or your pharmacy, and make sure they were getting paid and that they're sending over people that had registered and changed their medical or whatever. I was the person creating the bridge between those two systems. So I did that for a while.
Well, Frank, I'm going to jump back in there real quick if you don't mind.
Do it, please.
Of course, we mentioned Arbitron ratings. I think everybody has probably heard that. It just never dawned on them. Arbitron ratings. Everybody's heard of that when they rate the TV programs. But I'm just curious to know. I know it was mentioned earlier about Mike Fox and those guys starting, a different type of program to deal with the NIL. Have you been approached by them about maybe helping out with the financial end of that? Because one of the things that we feel that is totally necessary is somebody in these universities to offer some guidance to these young kids on how to handle all this money. And one of the things you worry about, and I've seen it already myself, where my son coaches college basketball, where kids basically squander it. They get it and they blow it, which, any 17, 18, 19-year-old kid, you hand him $100,000, I know what I'm going to do with it. And it'll drive me a nice ride and have me a gold watch and all that. But I was just curious, have they approached you about possibly being a part of the program to where there's some, form of financial assistance, in helping these guys, know where to put the money, know how to handle the money, know where to put it to let it grow. And, because Curlin, the amount of money they're talking about for a lot of these guys is enough money to set them up for life. Right. But if they don't know how to handle it and deal with it, it's not going to be that way. And I'm just curious to know, have you thought about that?
Um, I've been approached about being a mentorships and everything, and I've said yes, I would do it. So I'm just waiting to hear back from some people. Usually, I missed the last Josiak golf tournament, which you get to talk to Fox and them about that. But then I think this year we're going to have something because if you know, one of our great mentors, Coach Ford, just passed away, and we were at his memorial in D.C. And that they're trying to get something during the spring game where everybody can come back and honor him for that. So I think at that time, we'll probably put that on the table and talk about it, and they'll reach out to us about that. Trying to get waiting to probably they're waiting to they get the I guess the nuts and bolts in place before they start adding people who's available and to reach out. So um, I'm open to it if they need me and mentoring kids because that's also something I do.
Frank, you want to jump back in? I'm sorry again. I keep
No,
on
no,
keep
no.
on
We just
doing to you, and then I keep on jumping in and taking your place.
no. We go back and forth. But I think this is something that's really important. I was looking at data the other day that was shared with me about what the averages are by position, and it's really phenomenal money at the top end. And to be able to have a system in place where I mean, this is really big time stuff, and it needs to be treated as a big time stuff. And institutions there need to be there to help. It's just not a matter of recruiting these kids and then whatever happens in their lives, their support systems. And so Mike's going to talk about that his ideas next week, and it's good to hear that there's a lot of there's conversations going on that players are reaching out to football alums like you, and that there is a conversation about deferred compensation, et cetera, et cetera. I think something will happen. You know, Greg and I were talking about this the other day. You can't just go down a single road of more money, generate more revenue, because as probably most people watching this show live or in the archive know, the NCAA just passed a rule that I think starting this football season, players can have patches on, teams can have patches that basically promote corporate entities. And the purpose is to generate more money. That's great. But then there's a thing called money management. You got to be able to manage the money, and it's not just the institution. We got to help. I mean, that's the purpose of higher education, is to help students mature and grow so that their capabilities are greater once they graduated, after they graduated, versus when they came into college. So it just makes sense to me. This can't be just the revenue train. It has to be also, it has to be financial management. And now that basically the players are getting paid, that has to be part of it.
And what one of the things that I think should happen, and is an easy fix that could happen. So just like the NFL when they struck and they wanted to collect and bargaining agreement changed and they needed people, it was guys coming in. You know, you're a rookie, you get $1 million or $1 million more. They moved up the, I guess it was called the minimum wage of a player. You know, they figured the longevity of a player, and they made changes to that effect. In college, not much like the NFL, what they could do is come in and have each incoming freshman or sometime during your course take a financial class and a couple of classes and have somebody teach by a financial professional and kind of help them guide them so they can get the education. Because as you know, it says people die of a lack of knowledge, and if you don't know, you don't know, and that's the one thing you have to teach this generation, and you have to put things in place. And I think the easiest thing you could do is get a class or add a class or have somebody come in and pay them to get this class, make it either a one credit like a PE class or something. We all got 1 credit hour. If you played a sport in college, they gave you a credit hour, and you can have that come in. And I think if Mike puts that in the mix, I think that'll start off easy fix, because you can get someone to come in, you can hire them, and it could be the different programs that can hire a person and have them come in, use some of the money that you have to pay that person to come in and teach the class during the semester. And because most of us are year-round students now, they're year-round because that's where they're graduating early, but they need to have that class and don't be able to get their money until they actually completed the class with a certain grade in it, so you can make sure they understood what was just taught and how to manage their money. And I think that could be the easiest thing we could do in short term.
Well, I'm thinking, Greg, too, a great idea that we've had guys on the show come in as guest lecturers. You think of John Flowers, played basketball. He's a financial manager in Morgantown. Matt Ratcher, back in Ohio. I mean, Matt manages billions of dollars. I mean, there are a lot of guys associated with WVU that could be guest speakers in a course like this. And if I remember correctly, and I don't know if you were affected or you came in contact, for years and years and years, West Virginia had a faculty member who helped athletes, because so many athletes get interviewed, to try to help them in terms of their public relations skills, particularly when they're interviewed on radio and television. She just retired a couple of years ago. Did you ever work with her? Does that name ring a bell? Does that person ring a bell?
Well, Don Nealon was the one who told us how they do the interviews.
Okay.
he gave us, he said, they come and ask you, say, we're going to come up in our little yellow bus, we're going to get off, we're going to play the game, we're going to go back home. He said, that's all you say.
There you go. But it's a great idea. What you got is a great idea. And right, it's a quick fix. And it fits. What I'm always interested in as a former faculty member is it fits the purpose of higher education. Mm-hmm. It fits the purpose of what higher education is all about. Yeah, I'm feeling better already, Greg.
Yeah, because Coach Nealon actually had me come back, and because I came back to the university to do a speech to some students about life after football and the other choices you have, and he had me come over to the practice and give a little bit of my speech to the players, talking about having other options besides the NFL, and what you can do, and it went over pretty well. And that's things you have to have. You reach out to players, come back that have went down the road that you're trying to get there, and talk about, okay, what happens once the lights are turned off, once the fans are gone, once you're in that room by yourself and nobody's cheering for you, and you can't walk, you're hurt and everything. What do you do then? Mm-hmm. And what is your options? And mm-hmm. that's what we need, first of all, to talk to those kind of subjects about, those type of things to those people, because everybody's not going to go to the NFL, but you want to do some things to get yourself set up for that. And this NIL money is one way, but also education is the main thing you need of how to use that money to your advantage, where you don't, like you say, spend it all in one scoop, and you can have it long, and you want to think about, okay, when I get 50 and I can't walk, and I'm a teacher and I'm making $55,000 a year, at least I have this money that I can retire when I don't feel like working anymore. When I get in my 60s and I can go around, I have something to leave my people, my loved ones, to help them, to bury me and things like that. Or if I have health issues, to help pay for those and that type of thing. So we really need the education part of that and people coming in.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Hey, we don't want you to get away without talking about the Mountaineers of today, the football team. We're just about at the end of the portal period, the second signing period for incoming students out of high school, junior college. That's coming up next week, actually. But let me get it started and then turn to Greg. But I'll start it by asking this question: your thoughts about Rich Rod, the team last year, what your sense of how it looks, conversations you're having with your peers, former players, all that stuff in terms of a focus on the Mountaineers that are going to be taking the field just in a few months.
Well, like when I was down in Houston and I went over and night for the game, I talked to Rich. I told him, I said, Rich, hey, we got your back. Um, we like what you're doing. Just keep doing what you're doing. And he has came back and has reinvented the culture of Mountaineers because he had something to bring back the older players and the alumni back so the young kids can see and talk to them about life after football and what's going on and maybe get some pointers from guys that played in the pros or guys that did what they were trying to do and just help Rich and just be behind him and support him and just start coming back to games. Not saying that I didn't know the two previous coaches before Rich, but the older guys, and not when I say older guys, I'm talking about pre Major Harris. So I'm talking about 84 on back, going back. Those guys really didn't feel as welcome as I thought to come back to the game. Not like a person that has the blue and gold coming out of their veins would know the culture of West Virginia. And to come back and welcome those guys, roll out the carpet to bring them back, invite them back, do things to bring them back, and that's what we really need because those players really need to see, and that starts the culture to keep them home. I would love to talk to C.J. Donaldson. It's like, man, why are you going to Ohio State? Just give us some time. What you need, don't take your talents there. We need you. I mean, we putting pieces in. It's like building a plane in the air. It's like pieces are just falling out. We stay put. Give it a chance. I know you want to go there, but sometimes you need somebody to come in and talk to get in the ear. Hey, give it a chance. Get a chance. I know this person. I know Rich. I know what he can do. Just give him a chance and just stick around. And now that they made it so kids could stay around for 7 years, you still got chances now. So I'm can't wait for the next year to go back to the spring game. I'm making the spring game. Want to go see what's going on in the spring. Rich had started a barbecue for all the alumni to come back, and he started last year, but this year he said he's gonna do a better job of getting people back and getting the word out. And a lot of guys are gonna come back. They're looking forward to it and talk to the players and getting to know who's there now. And you can put a face with the name. So when they see all the things in the locker room, they're like, okay, oh, these are the guys that built this locker room. These are the guys that put the blood, sweat, and tears out here on the field, Mountaineer field, and this is what we have, and that's the thing you really want. You want to see the people, the legacies, those people, and talk to them and ask them why. Why did you come to West Virginia? What made you stay here, and how was your time in West Virginia? And you can really be honest and tell them and talk to them, and that's I think they want to hear, so they can stay and don't want to leave. Like, oh yeah, I don't want to leave. Because I know it's much different than when I was there in Morgantown. It's a night. I would go back and coach if I had it. Well, I wouldn't. I don't want to coach. Let me take that back. Because it's just coaching. The coaching thing is like it's just nerve wracking. It's like a 24/7 job. So I take my hat off to Rich and those guys. I'll support however I can.
Why don't you jump in there, Greg?
Yeah, I was going to say, listen to him talk about the financial end of things, and all the folks we've had on the show here, it just seems like there's a wealth of resources, and I don't mean necessarily financial, but knowledge resources out there from former players, and it's just a network that needs to be put together and utilized. We've got so many people that, Frank, you and I have seen time after time after time. Curlin, no different. Successful business people after their days at WVU obviously know how to, handle life, handle finances, those types of things. Those are resources that are invaluable, and for these young kids that again are being handed this money, you would hope that the young kid himself would want that guidance, and I know they want things. That's what's important to them, but you get across to them that things are not what's most important right now. You can get things anytime, but you have a future to look at, Yeah. And so I just think the resources that we have out there, just based on who we've had on this show, the knowledge that these guys have as businessmen and financial workers, like a John Flowers in the financial industry, those are resources that are invaluable, and you hope that we can use those. And I like what Curlin said. Get those players up there and let them tell them why they, because we've heard. We have never talked to a former player on here that I can recall that's ever said, I kind of wish I'd have went somewhere else. I've never heard that. Everyone we've ever talked to has always said, I'm so glad I went there. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. That's what these young people need to hear. They need to know why. And, I can say that to them. Anybody can say it to them. But if it comes from a former player and they tell them why, I think that would go a long way into keeping a lot of them on track. And I think eventually the money's going to, that all is going to play out and get evened out, leveled out to a degree. And but there's some other important things that I think sounds like WVU is maybe ahead of the game just a little bit. That if we can get in place now, is going to really go a long way to solidify, the program's future. And I like some of the things Curlin is talking about. Curlin, if you don't have anything else, we really do appreciate you taking some time to join us. It's been so much fun.
Thank you. Anytime you need me on there.
Wish we had several hours. It'd be we'll plan on seeing you at Joswiak's event this year. Frank and I, Darren, we usually go up and broadcast from up there. So hopefully, if you're there, you can drop in and give us a shout, and we'll get you on again.
I'm not much of a golfer. I'm trying to get into it. My son's all golf, and they're trying to get me into it. So we got something planned. I'm gonna get some golfing. So I guess next time up there, because I talked to, because Josiak's down here and I see him and he's like, man, we would love to have you. So I got to go to one to see his dad before his dad passed. So and it was a fun time. It was a fun time.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Well, the main thing is get you a nice golf shirt, nice pants, nice pair of shorts, nice pair of shoes. Get you some new clubs, nice hat, look the part. That's the most important. I played for 30 years and I still stink at it. But as long as you look good, that's part of the game right there. So anybody can do that. Again, we appreciate you being on with us. Another great story and another great Mountaineer. We appreciate you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Curlin. Great.
Everybody, good evening.
All right, you do the same.
Yeah,
Frank, there's another fine example of what we talk about, greatness, not only on the field but after.
Yeah, and one of the things that struck me when he was talking at the end about getting the guys to stay, or talking about why here, because that, when we talk to the older guys, they always talk about the options they had, and in many cases, just visiting Morgantown was the clincher. Once they got here, they knew it was the place. But with all the talk about the nil and the money that you mentioned that and I'll use the word Miami poaching Duke to get the players they need. I understand that it's a market system, and so those players are leaving. But the reality is, a lot of players don't go anywhere. Now, think about this: 44 Mountaineers that were on the team last year, 44 announced for the portal. they announce for the portal. Various times they announce. So 44. 9 of those players were picked up by Power 4 schools. 9 of those 44. Okay? 22 of those players of the 44, if my math is correct, right? 22 over 44, have not signed with a school.
No.
So here we are now at the end of the portal period. They can still sign after. I mean, it's the portal period's ended where you can declare. They can go at any time. But there are some big names that have been unsigned. The running back from last year, Marchiol, they haven't been signed. And so as a consequence, there are winners and losers of this. And so it's a complex circumstance.
Yeah, and I think they have to, a lot of people have the misconception that just because you jump in the portal, that means you're getting offers from somebody. You're getting money offers from somewhere. That's why you're jumping in. That's not necessarily the case, and I think we can see that just based on this class. And that is, a lot of these guys are floating in the wind out there right now, and where are they? Are they going to get a play at all? And, that's going to be something else that they have to consider. Sure, they can jump in the portal, but are they good enough, to go somewhere else and, get paid, get playing time, whatever. So that's another aspect of this that I don't think a lot of people think of, what happens to those guys. And, if you're a coach and you've got a guy that's, say, a marginal player and he decides to leave your program and go to the portal, explore his options, how do you feel about him coming back? How much loyalty you think's there? How much can you depend on him? So, yeah, a lot of things go into this that I don't think everybody always thinks about, and that's one of them, and that's that's tough. Some of these kids, it may end up not playing at all, and a lot of them obviously are going to end up going down a level to get a play if it's if playing is what they want. If it's all about making money, then I'm not sure that all of them are going to be satisfied when it's all said and done.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's tough. That what Curlin was saying about coaching is true. It's 24/7. You experienced it. Your son, Sid, is now experiencing it at Winthrop as a director of basketball operations there. And you think about the amount of time these guys spend. It just doesn't end because you've got to recruit. You recruit these kids to come, and then you got to re-recruit them to stay. And so it's a constant thing. We don't want to get away from tonight, though, without talking about basketball. Right. And that's a whole. In some ways, it's a different kettle of fish, but in some ways, it's the same kettle of fish in terms of the nil and all that stuff. And we both follow the Mountaineers. I tell you what, I was nervous last night. I don't know about you, but if Kansas State is not the worst team in the Big 12, I haven't seen the worst team yet. And yet they really struggled. And I'm not trying to criticize K-State, but the fact of the matter was that it was a home game. You're heavily favored, and it was a struggle, and I thought it was going to slip away. Did you have a chance to watch that game? And if so,
I did get to watch some of it. I had some other interest in it. One of the players for Kansas State, excuse me for the coughing, but one of the players for the Kansas State team was I don't know if he was poached or just decided to go, but transferred from Miami, and prior to that, transferred from Wheeling to Miami. Marcus Johnson's his name, and he now plays for Kansas State. And he played with my son at Wheeling. I also had a vested interest there. I wanted to check him out and see how he was, but I was surprised that Kansas State not very good, and but also surprised that we struggled a little bit. But you know what, Frank, I've learned in Big 12, any conference, when you win a game on the road, it's a good win. And these teams, it's hard to win these games, and it's especially hard to win on the road because the talent level, for the most part, is so high everywhere that it's not an easy task to win. So, I was happy we got the win on the road, relieved more than anything. I think after watching it that we didn't let it slip away because we were obviously a much better team than they were. We just didn't play that well.
Yeah, well, the women found that out last night over at
Yeah.
Utah. They were
Yep.
heavily favored against Utah, and they had handled BYU. But with the spread of the Big 12 now, same as the Big 10, they go on the road, and they're on the road for the better part of, or close to a week.
Yeah.
They had their Utah swing, so they played BYU and then stayed the weekend and played Utah last night, and it really wasn't much of a game. I mean, the women got off to a bad start. Defense was an issue. And then Utah was just hitting the lights out. WVU couldn't hit their threes, and it was just disappointing. And they're going to drop out of the top 25 now. They were number 22. But what's interesting, too, is how the Big 12 scheduled, because last week, the men and women at the same time played Arizona State, the women at home, and then the men on the road. And one of the things that was interesting about that Arizona State game is that Arizona State in Morgantown with the women, they didn't shoot a single free throw. I thought the coach was gracious. She just said, we didn't have a free throw tonight. Not made a free throw. We didn't go to the line.
Didn't even shoot one.
Yeah. But we're going to repeat that this week because both the men and the women play Baylor, one at home, one on the road. In fact, are they both at home? I think Baylor may be both. I think
maybe both of them are home.
I think they're both at home.
Yeah.
The women come in and the men come in. I don't know if they travel together, but this is not one of on the men's side, it doesn't seem to be one of the classic Baylor teams. WVU will be favored in that. And I just saw today, who was it? It was, I wrote it down actually. Fran Fischella was very positive about WVU. He lives in Fort Worth, I think, does a lot of Big 12 games. And he said, they could go 10-8 in the league. And then Skylar Callahan had an article today, you may have seen it, that says he believes that West Virginia has to have 21 wins to get into the big dance. And he reminded us that WVU had 19 last year and didn't get in. And he says, I don't think 20 is enough. Have you thought about that at all at this point? Maybe it's too early.
Well, thinking about it just because of the debacle that was last year, and thinking, we might have to have 25 to get in, but depends on who's on the committee. But I would think that 21 in that conference should get them in. Now, 19 should have got them in last year and didn't. So, you have to watch what you say and what you think. But if you win 20, 21 games and you play in that conference, because, Frank, admittedly, Big 12 might be the best basketball conference there is. I mean, I know some of those teams have struggled a little bit here lately. Excuse me, but when you start at the top of that Big 12, that's a powerhouse conference right on down, and some of your teams that are typically power teams that will be power teams again. I'm sure Kansas, some of those teams, they may not be considered a powerhouse team right this second, but they're an awful good team. And if you win that many games in that conference, playing in that conference, then not winning conference games, obviously don't play that many. But if you win 21 games and you play in that conference, then I would think you would have to have an awful good shot of getting in. I can't imagine not getting in. But again, probably have to see how things play out, the rest of the way, and how close some of these blue bloods are to steal somebody's spot.
Well, you think about it. Arizona, certainly number one team in the country. They're awfully good. And so is Houston. Houston is a phenomenal. In fact, when you watch Houston, they're well coached. They play really well. It's good to see fans in the stands again for years and years and years. That was a game that was a place where you could go and win. Iowa State is solid, even though they've struggled, both men and women, after the first of the year. West Virginia and Texas Tech, of course. And so those are the teams at the top. And then you got the Kansases and the WVUs, the TCUs, Oklahoma State's sort of in the middle. And I think as I look at the schedule from here on out, it's how they do against the UCFs, the Cincinnati's, the TCU's. But it's good to see Eagles staff playing better. He's had some 20-point games, played really well at Arizona State. And he came and I think, he's won 2 games at home recently with late play. Last night was one of them. Obviously, it can't be just tough because they're guarding him like glue. But I mean, one of the things that has been written about WVU that I'm sure you've read because you're really up on this stuff is that you got to give credit to Hodge to come in and assemble a team the way he has done, getting them to play together, that you can see they enjoy playing together, and different people are stepping up. And even when they really don't have what I would call a bona fide big man, a 6'11", 7-footer in the middle, the way a lot of these teams do. Michigan, for example, Michigan State has 3 big guys that they play. But, the bottom line is that they're playing well together. And with the exception of some hiccups here and there, not bad. Yeah. And so obviously what hurt WVU last year, other than the political shenanigans at the end, was getting beaten by Colorado in the tournament. So that's the other thing. I think no matter where we finish in the regular season, you got to win that first game and hopefully followed up with the second game. So you come out of that tournament no worse than 2-1.
Right.
But it's exciting to watch, and I know you like the way they play defense.
Yeah, I do. I like the way they play. They always said that as long as they play defense like they're playing, they're going to be in games. And they're talented. I mean, if you watch individual players, a lot of talent there. And if they get, you always hear this is coach talk, but you get them clicking all on the same cylinders, they're going to be hard to beat when they're shooting the ball well. If you get Eagle staff, you get Huff, you get some of these guys that are shooting well all at the same time, and they did this a couple of times early in the season. They're going to be hard to beat, and because they do play good defense. And like you said, they started to gel a little bit together. And I don't care how good you are, and you can see this from looking at Iowa State. You're going to have hiccups along the way, and especially in a grueling season like they play. I mean, there's so many games and so many road games and so much travel. I've witnessed this with my son, and I'm thinking, how do they have enough energy to even play a ball game? They're flying from this city to that city to this city, and they have one day off here, and then they're back at it, and it just never ends. Just a grind and a grind and a grind, and you're going to have hiccups along the way. And this team is no different. They're going to have hiccups along the way. But it's a talented team, and I really think, this is a team that if it all comes together at the right time, they could be dangerous. And
That's right.
But like you said, I think it's important that they win the games they should win. They win the games that they're expected to win. Maybe pull one or two that they weren't thinking they would win, and then win a game or two in the tournament, and they're on their way. So I have high hopes for them still. I think it's a talented team. They're a fun team to watch, and I'm impressed, like you said, with what Coach Hodge has done by putting these guys together so late like he has. And, you hear a lot of love for him on TV with the broadcasters and the talking heads on there really like the way he handles a program. So I think given a year or two at the helm, he's going to have it together there. I got faith in him, and I think I think the future looks pretty bright for us.
Yeah. What I'm hoping for is that we'll have a big win, like we had a couple of them last year when we particularly beating Kansas at Kansas and then beating Arizona and Gonzaga in the tournament, Christmas tournament, just like the Duke, like beating Duke this year, a big one. And I really think that somewhere along the line, it could be against Texas Tech, could be against maybe TCU, a game that they weren't necessarily expected to win that will grab attention. Now, there's one thing before we sign off. This goes back to football that we can put a shout out here. Darren, if you could put up the graphic that Tony Altimore posted This is the one about football, and there are 4 coaches that inherited a losing team, and within 3 years won a national championship. And I had Tony's going to be on the show in a couple of weeks, and if you don't follow Tony, go to X, Tony Altimore, Altimore. He is a master guru of data, and he puts it in graphic form. You can learn so much. And he put this thing up, and I had an exchange with him. And I said, Tony, there's a theme here. And he goes, what is it? You know what the theme is, right, Greg? Do you see it there?
West Virginia connection on every one of them.
Except Pete Carroll.
Pete Carroll, yeah.
When you think about it, guys, this is one that should be shared on social media. You can clip this going to Tony Altimore on X. Is that John McKay's a West Virginia guy? Nick, obviously, and Kurt is. That is amazing. West Virginia as a state does not get the credit that it deserves in terms of, we could talk about a whole bunch of other guys too. I mean, when you think about Jimbo and you think about Lou Holtz, although, he's right on the river in Ohio. But the fact of the matter is the leadership that has spread across college football that came from a really small state, underrepresented, you would think, but actually no, it's overrepresented with great coaches. And John McKay did a great job at USC before becoming a pro coach. And of course, Kurt played at West Virginia, went to Morgantown High School. I think that's just a fabulous testimony to the Mountain State.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Like you said, didn't get the attention that it deserves, but I think it gets more and more attention as we go on. We hear it mentioned more and more on these shows on TV all the time. So, yeah, it's a pretty cool stat. And, a lot of West Virginia connection. It's amazing when you think about the size of the place, and then what's come out of the state is pretty amazing, really, when you step back and look at it. But yeah, that's pretty neat stuff. Well, Frank, another night in the books, it looks like, and another great guest tonight. We want to wish Mickey a speedy recovery next week. Our old buddy Mike Fox, friend of the show, will be on with us. Always enjoy having Mike because Frank and I, we get to rest our vocal cords on those nights. We just sit back and let Mike talk.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. It's better to have Mike as a friend, as a guest, than being an offensive lineman, having to go up against him.
Can you imagine?
Well, I've said this before. When you were talking about being at Joe's golf tournament. We were there last year, and I was standing next to Mike, and my neck still hurts. I mean, it's just he is a big man and had a great pro career. Won a Super Bowl with the New York Giants. Played a number of years with the Carolina Panthers, and just a sweet guy, just a great guy who cares deeply about WVU. And that picture there, he's ensconced in the WVU Hall of Fame, rightfully so. A great player. So
when I introduced myself to him, I told him he might. I thought Joseph was, but I think he might be the biggest human being I've ever been beside. He's one mammoth guy. He said, I'm not nearly big as I used to be. I've lost 35 pounds. I was like, gee whiz.
Well, I'll tell you what. We don't go to that golf tournament to play golf. Just like Mike, we go there to eat. I mean, that's right.
Eat and have a good time. Hey, we wanted to, Frank, before we get off, mention Mark Parsons, our good buddy down in Murfreesboro, takes care of helping us with the guests. Always on the ball, always working and getting our guests lined up for us. We really, really, really do appreciate Mark, and we want to make sure we always get a mention on him out there. We'll get Mark back on the show before too much longer again. I know he's wrapped up in this. I just picture Mark right now with just like paper all wrapped around him, trying to read the transfer portal stuff.
Well, one of the things that he's an expert on, which very, very few people are. I know we aren't. I mean, we don't pay attention to it. But I read and commented today, someone asked him a question on Facebook, and he answered it, because WVU is doing a complete restructuring of its NIL program. Country Roads Trust is gone, et cetera. He explained that in about a paragraph. that made sense to me in terms of how it connects to revenue sharing, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll bet you very few of the people watching this show or anywhere around knows how a school like West Virginia is handling the revenue sharing, the nil,
Yep.
because the nil was being done by these collaboratives,
Right.
and those are gone now, and so now the university has a responsibility, and
Right.
it's time. We got to have Mark on to talk about that because it's
Yeah.
really
Yeah. We need to
important.
get him back on to help explain more of it to us for sure. That's a definite. And we'll do that as spring and summer rolls in. We can, got plenty of time to talk to us. We'll definitely get him back on. Also, best wishes to Mike Dunlap, still struggling down in the hospital.
Oh
And
man,
a little bit of encouraging news, but not great news, but he's hanging in there. So I want to wish him and his family all the best. Also, Mickey, got to get Mickey better
yeah,
and get him back with us. We miss Mickey. And golly, Frank, the odds are stacking up against you here. First week it's me, then it's Mickey, then it's me, then it's Mickey. You stay inside down there and stay warm. Can wear your mask.
actually, even though I'm in Florida, it's been
And
awful.
cold.
For Florida, it's been cold in the 30s
Yeah.
down here in Southwest Florida, which is amazing. But anyway,
And-
always a pleasure. Always a
Yep.
pleasure, Greg. We had fun
Good.
tonight. Curlin was a
Absolutely.
great guest. We'll look forward to Mike next week, and we
Yep.
appreciate everybody watching.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We appreciate everybody for tuning in here on the New River Network and the Voice of College Football. We look forward to bringing you another great show next week, and we appreciate you watching a great show we thought tonight. Thanks to Darren for all his work behind the scenes. Wish you the best of the evening, everyone, and good night.